In my last video, we talked about how flies, gnats, beetles, and other insects that aren't bees move pollen from one pawpaw tree to another and vice versa in order to get fruit set. Here's a nice pair of pawpaw trees in Cortland, Illinois, by the way. People are probably more interested in drawing butterflies and bees to their yard as opposed to, say, flies, beetles, and other insects. I've never been bothered by the smell of pawpaw flowers, and I've been more fascinated than bothered by the insects that they draw. The flowers are only open for a few weeks in the early spring, and their pollinators seem more interested in the flowers than in me. It's said that if you draw native pollinators to your yard, that you will also draw new native bird species to your yard, and this is the first instance that I've seen of it with my pawpaw trees. A day or two prior, I had noticed a new bird in the yard, and I decided to talk it out so I could describe it again to my wife, Sue. It was a small bird with a fully black head, an orange chest, black wings with a distinct orange stripe, and a white underside. It was perching on the trees in the backyard and the fence. It was a bit of a showy flyer, and it took off. We tried to ID it using the Merlin app, and it suggested Baltimore Oriole, but I knew that was wrong. I think its bright colors fooled me as to how large the bird actually is. It's maybe finch or smaller size. So we looked up a list of orange and black birds online, and I was able to match this bird to its picture. Once I read the name of the bird, it rung a bell. I believe I'd looked this bird up previously when I had seen one briefly while I was hunting morel mushrooms in a low area along the Kishwaukee River. This migratory bird is in the flycatcher family, and northern Illinois is within its breeding area. So this is an American Redstart. He is a flycatcher, and I think he's attracted to the flies that are attracted to the flowers of my pawpaw tree. He's got a funny way of flying. It startles insects and he darts around, catching them. I haven't heard him call yet, but I feel like I've actually heard his little beak snap going after flies. It's rather fascinating. He's letting me get pretty close to him, which I'm shocked by. But I think he's pretty busy, and I can't imagine people are any threat to this guy because he's so fast. He's so fast. You can hear his wings. I think it's a he. I don't know what the females look like. He's just hanging out. I think having dinner. This is about the time of night when I've noticed that there's lots of little gnats on the pawpaw flowers as well. And I wonder if that's what he's eating. They seem to congregate and mate on the flowers. They kind of beat their wings in this weird rhythmic pattern. Like they flex it out 90 degrees and then shut them. And they'll all congregate on one single flower. This guy's been hanging around for probably, I'd say, the better part of a half hour or so. which is pretty cool. I never really thought there'd be too many real, like, bird species that I would be able to attract with them, but I suspect that pawpaws are a host to a wide range of native insects. What do you think, bud? Yeah. Clearly I'm smitten, and this birdie was here feeding for several hours, from like 5 until 8 in the evening, when those tiny gnats seemed to congregate on the flowers. He even hung around long enough for Sue to get home, and at that time, we briefly observed 2 of these birds. Unfortunately, we were unable to photograph them together, but I hope that means we have a nesting pair of these fascinating little guys, and more of them return to the yard. The rest of the video, for the most part, is me just filming this fellow's antics in varying degrees, and there's a couple of still photos towards the end that Sue took. There's also some time-lapse footage of his acrobatics that I shot at the end. It's not as interesting as I had hoped, but there's plenty of footage of him to come. I don't think he quite knows what to make of me. You don't normally have an audience, do you, pal? You're super cute. You're tiny. Much smaller than I thought. You can hear his beak snap. It's crazy. That was a snap, folks. Sorry, buddy. So clearly I'm enamored with this bird, as is my wife, Sue. She arrived home and this bird was still feeding when she got here, and she got out our professional camera in order to get a few still pics. At one point, 2 of these birds appeared together, briefly, but we were unable to photograph or film them together. My hope is that means there is a nesting pair of these birds. He flew off and returned several times, so it may be that we actually did see 2 of these birds, just both of them were feeding at different times. I hope this means that there is a nest nearby. Another odd detail I feel like I must mention is that while observing this bird or birds feed, I counted it pooping no less than 8 times. It's quite a life. Here are some close-ups of the stills that Sue took. And as promised, here's some hyperlapse footage of his fly-catching acrobatics. This last clip represents about 8 minutes or so of his activity. Thanks for watching, and like and subscribe for more Pawpaw-related content here at Creme Dementia. Upcoming video topics will include growing pawpaws from seed and pawpaw grafting.